Hey guys, welcome to Rosebud Thorn. It's been a bit. I think we're going like 3 weeks. This is our third week, unfortunately.
It's been a little bit of a run, but I was away all of last week. I left on the 20th, came back on the 27th. So we missed the week of these that included the 17th. And then last week, Kayla was run off her feet, looking after both of our businesses, doing an amazing job at it. So lots of gratitude for Kayla for looking out for you guys for the week I was gone. And now we are more than excited to get back into our Rosebud Thorn.
You trying to butter me up?
I'm always buttering you up.
All right, guys. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the latest, like the furthest back, and we're going to work our way forward. So just as a reminder for those that are just tuning in for the first time, Rose is what is going well for you, Bud is what is coming along, and Thorn is, for lack of a better way of saying it, what is a pain in your ass. So let's jump right in.
Okay, so to start out this was the week of that 17th back in July, way long ago. Dana's rose that week was his attitude, positive. That's awesome. Love hearing that. Bud is starting into workouts. This is again an awesome Bud to have, getting back into the movement in your life. I absolutely love that. And Thorn was early work mornings. Need to transfer exercise to evenings this week. So I love that you already kind of came up with your own solution to your thorn. Mornings might not be working because we are working a little bit earlier than we're used to. So kind of pivoting and shifting those workouts to an evening workout and kind of finding that natural flow to be able to still create success. So I love that you came up with your own resolve for your thorn. That's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and I always want to say, like, your workouts don't have to be done on the days that they're plunked on. So feel free to move them to a day that feels better to you. I know a lot of us think of weekends, so Saturdays and Sundays as kind of our time off, the rest days, whatever. But don't be afraid for those to be your workout days, and then you maybe only have to squeeze one or two in midweek to allow yourself to really get the sleep that you need. I think sleep is underestimated. And I was actually just listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how now the new science around sleep and recovery and those kinds of things is that you can actually, so if you survive on 5 hours or less of sleep for more than 3 days in a row, it'll actually increase your body weight. So for my weight loss people, that's crazy because you're like, well, why did I go up so much? Well, check your sleep. And then the other piece of that is that also isn't going to allow the same muscle adaptation that we're looking for in our exercise. And maybe you don't have the same zest to give to your exercise.
Yeah, sleep can't be understated. It's funny because that's a common theme that's come up with a few of my in-person clients this last week. Is sleep schedule and how important it is, because when we sleep, that's where our body gains the most recovery from workouts and just life in general. That's where we allow the stress to kind of melt away during that sleep. And to get the most out of your growth hormone, we need to get into that deep sleep. And typically, the highest levels of growth hormone secretion happen between 8 and 10 hours of sleep. So keeping that in mind, if you are somebody that is looking to build muscle, it really does show how important it is to get that quality sleep to be able to use the most of our natural resources in our body. So again, sleep can't be understated. Get it into you, people.
8 to 10 hours, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's just when it's highest. That's when it peaks for growth hormone. So
that's crazy. 8 to 10 hours. I like 7.5.
she's like, "Where's my growth hormone? That's why I'm so short." No,
I don't think it's in relation
no,
to
I know.
height.
I'm kidding.
Is that why our kids have such big feet? No, I'm just fucking. All right, moving on. Chantel says her rose the week of the 17th was eating simple, healthy meals with the heat. I love the idea of simple, like simple, get back to basics. But back on track with water intake and workouts after a week at the lake.
I love that. Finding routine is so important when you get back.
Yes. Thorn, getting a proper sleep, finding myself a few times a night with this heat, not having proper sleep is definitely catching up to me and giving me less energy. So already noticing what it is, the cause. So how do we mitigate those pieces? Like, So for anybody that doesn't live in Alberta, it was crazy hot. I want to say it was like 38 degrees,
Yeah.
for several days. And for those of us, that don't have air conditioning,
We're in that boat.
yeah, it was 26 degrees in our bedroom at night, which I love heat. I don't want to complain about it, but it does make it a little bit harder to rest. They actually do show in studies that you sleep better in a cooler environment. And that is just, think of it like it
Science.
just slows everything down, right?
Yeah. So one thing I will give, just a tip and something that I love to do. I know cold showers, cold baths, things like that are not for everybody, but what I will say is when your body temperature is higher than it normally is because of the external environment, because of the heat outside, and then we go to bed, lots of times that can affect the ability to get into that sleep pattern. So if I can give a little suggestion, have a shower before bed. And try and have it on the cooler side. If you can have a cold shower, great. Cool that body off before you go to bed. It will definitely help. Now, if you are somebody that's like, nope, don't like the cold showers, even just the simple act of having a shower, even if it is just a little bit on the cooler side, and then going to bed after that, it does help cool the body down. It gives you that kind of like that refreshed feeling before going to bed, which can help you get into that sleep a little bit easier. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's air conditioning by any means, but if you have a fan in your room and you have a shower before bed, you can typically cool yourself off a little bit before you go to bed.
So two things I want to add to that.
Yep.
So I was listening and reading a little bit on like more to do with like females and cold therapy and those kinds of things because I don't like cold therapy. But and that's just me. I hate being cold.
Here's the answer.
Yeah. But for females, they actually show that we don't want to have it as crazy cold as humanly possible because it does affect hormone levels and cortisol, so our stress hormone levels. For females, the optimal temperature is 16 degrees.
Think of a 16-degree pool. That's pretty cold.
It is cold.
Right? Like for me, my cold showers, I will literally turn the shower on so I have enough pressure for the water to be coming out because ours is one of the spin ones where it's like it starts ice cold and then it gets hot. I will turn it on so I have enough pressure for the shower and that's how cold I like it. But like Kayla's saying, ease into it, right? Start with a warm shower and then just take it to that edge that you're willing to accept and call that your cold. It doesn't have to be ice cold.
It doesn't have to be ice. Yeah. And I think that's where we get that dichotomy. The other thing that is mentioned in regards to being able to cool off, and I know that this sounds counterintuitive, but it's actually covering your head. So if you can take a light sheet or a towel or something like that and actually put it over your head, it creates this like safety zone for the brain. And what we want to do is be able to cool the brain. If you cool the brain, it will regulate the energy centers in the body. So like an ice pack on the forehead might be too extreme, but just simply covering the head actually does cool the body because of the brain going, hey, I'm too hot. And they were talking in one podcast that I was listening to, they were talking about this in regards to females with hot flashes. So suffering from hot flashes, you want to trigger the hypothalamus in the brain to re-regulate temperature settings. So covering the brain with something is one way of doing that. And they were talking about that in relation to even being in hot saunas. So I don't know, like this is where I live in Celsius, but when they talk about sauna temperatures, like it's all in Fahrenheit, but they were talking about like over 100 degrees sauna, and the ability to cover the head actually can re-regulate hot flashes. So I was thinking about that in relation to just heat in general.
Yeah, and if you're looking to cool down too, and you're going to use an ice pack, the best place to do it is actually on the back of the neck. That's where your internal thermostat is, just because the spinal cord is closest there, and that's where you can actually regulate your body temperature best from. So if you are looking to help yourself cool down, cooling down the back of your neck is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck there.
That's why they have all those cooling towels.
Right? As good as it feels to like get it on your face and like cool the body off, this is where you're going to regulate. So the back of the neck is the best spot.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, Michelle's rose this week. Healing is coming along. I absolutely love hearing that. After surgery, healing is so important and rest plays into that. But a little more movement every day. That is awesome. I love that we're starting to get movement in. Thorn, time. The time it is taking to heal. I get that. I've had many injuries where I've had to take the time to heal, and it kills me because I'm such an active person, just like you are, Michelle. So I know how daunting this task of healing can be when it takes us out of our routine and takes us out of the daily movement that we're used to and we love. So what I am going to say is time heals all. So give it the time that it needs. Make sure that we are getting as much rest as we can, because again, rest equals recovery. Rest equals growth hormone. Rest equals the things that are going to get you through this phase, this acute phase of healing that much faster. So let's focus on that recovery. Anybody that's ever been injured, I always say get as much rest and food as you can, because our body needs those things to heal.
100%.
Awesome work, Michelle. Keep crushing it.
So Sherry says her Rose was listening to her body, Bud strengthening the weaker muscles, and Thorn, my hip went from an ultrasound and an X-ray today. And I know that she ended up realizing that there was some minor tearing within her tendons and ligaments. So unfortunately, the protocol for that is rest.
So the big reason, so if we have a muscle tear, that's not the worst thing in the world, because muscles are supposed to tear to create more muscle fibers to heal. Now, the good thing about muscle tears is that they are very oxygenated and they're very blood rich muscles.
There's a lot of blood flow too.
There's a lot of active blood flow to them. Now, ligaments and tendons do not get the same amount of blood in them, oxygenated blood in them to create that healing. So they do take longer to heal. So it really is important when we have tears in ligaments and tendons specifically to take the time to heal, because again, they don't get as much of that oxygen rich blood, so they have a longer healing pattern. So making sure that we do take the time when it is ligaments and tendons is super important.
Now, one thing to think about for my friends that are in healing and recovery is just because you're in healing and recovery does not mean you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the other pieces that you can do? And maybe that is upper body training. Maybe that's a little bit of seated banded work. Something that is not as high impact. I have a really cool workout done with a broom handle, and it's all cardiovascular, like rowing. Like it's a lot of fun. So what else can you do in the state that you're in? And movement can look different. Maybe it's just like, maybe my movement is just general with my arms, or, whatever that is, but thinking of not what you can't do and focusing on what you can do.
Yeah. And again, keeping in mind that motion is lotion for our body. So if we have a lower body injury, by continuing to be active with our upper body, like Kayla's saying, keeping our muscles metabolically active doesn't just work on the muscles you're working. There is a co-contraction in your body every time we are moving, and like with effort and with focus, the rest of our body feels that, right? Like they've done studies in people where it's like they're doing single arm curls. They only work one side for this study, and the other side is getting benefits still. So just because you're not actively working those muscles doesn't mean they're not getting the benefit of the increased blood flow, of the metabolic activity in your body. So really making sure that we focus on what we can do and keeping our mindset on what can we do to keep ourselves active here. Love that.
100%. Dana, so we're into a new week. Dana said his Rose was his schedule, his Bud was habits and creating it into a routine, and his Thorn was time, which is kind of like an oxymoron, right? My Rose is my schedule and my Thorn is my time. Like I'm doing really good scheduling, but I just don't have the time to schedule things in.
Well, I know Dana works a very busy job, and I know that. So I get that time can be that enemy, right? And it's like I just trying to fit in all of the goals, all of the things that we're working towards can feel overwhelming. So I will offer this to you, just like I offer this to anybody that says time is their crux, is where can we start to take some of our time back? So in everybody's resources under I think it's the health and nutrition tab, I've added in the time inventory sheet so that you can take a good look, right? If we actually take a 24-hour period and mark down every half hour what we're doing for a few days, sometimes it gives us a good insight as to where we might be able to steal back a little bit of our time to create the new routines that we're working so hard for. Because again, it's when we live our lives, we kind of become blind with the things where we might be losing a little bit of time. And I'm not saying every moment of every day has to be scheduled perfectly, but when we look at our day objectively and we say, okay, I spent an hour that night watching television. Sure, I was unwinding. But then the night after that, I still spent another hour. I spent an hour and a half, or I watched whatever I did, right? there's certain things where we might be able to take a little bit away from it that gives us the time needed to create that space for whatever it is that we're looking for. And that doesn't just mean your workouts. That could be if you're building your business. That could be if you're creating habits and routines around healthy habits with your family and your kids, whatever that looks like that you're looking to fit into your schedule. Maybe it's just taking something away or a piece of something away so that you can create that space for yourself. So I challenge anybody that says, I don't have enough time in my day, and I do this myself every once in a while, inventory your time, see where it's spent and see where you can take a bit back.
Mhm.
Okay, Willow's is next. Willow's Rose. I had a great first workout and a lot of movement. Love that. But working on getting enough calories, awesome job. For anybody that is on that weight loss journey, looking at creating a stable amount of calories is definitely a rose, right? When we underconsume calories, our metabolism drops to meet those, and it makes weight loss that much harder. So anybody on that journey, if we're telling you to eat more, I promise we are doing it in your best, in the highest good that we can. We are looking out for you 100%. And Thorn, this one was just remembering that I'm important. Wow.
That is really hard.
Yeah, that speaks volume, right? It comes back to those stories that we tell ourselves. And a lot of those stories are conditioned from a young age. So realizing that we are the people we are meant to be, and standing in our space and standing in our power is so important.
Well, and that we make time for ourselves. So, especially as a parent or as a busy individual, it's really hard sometimes to make that time for ourselves or to prioritize ourselves. Like, it might not even be making the time, it's just that I am a priority because we don't always feel as important as all the people and the things that we care about. So remembering that I am important, this is my life, and I get to also play a role in that.
Yeah, and I love that you said get to, because there's that internal dialogue that can come up where it's we have to do these things. And when we start to look at it as that you get to do these things, that it's not something that you have to do, or everything's a choice in this life. So when you have the opportunity to work on yourself and to be again, yeah, like standing in your power and working on yourself, that's so powerful that you get to do that.
I love that. Maybe we need to do a whole podcast on the choices that we make and the ability to do choices in this lifetime, because I feel like it's such a good topic. And there's so much empowerment within that.
Yeah, so true. Every moment of every day is a choice, right? You choose how you get to wake up. You might wake up in a terrible mood, but does that have to continue? Can we work on that right from the moment we're up? Right? Love it.
Okay. We got another one from Willow, but this is from this past week.
So this past week, Willow's Rose, I'm tracking food and moving as much as I can. Love that, especially because I know you're on the road. So that is awesome. But I'm becoming increasingly aware that I'm shifting into a new state of being, and that's really cool. Yeah. Especially after that last one. We literally just read the last one about how we're, having a hard time finding that time for self and like creating the habits around that. And now it's like, you know what? I'm actually stepping into this. I absolutely love that. And then Thorn, last minute schedule changes. I'm learning to leap into it and go with it. Again, we kind of talked about this one earlier, but it's really like finding that flow, right? Not being so rigid in our schedules, knowing what needs to be done in a day, but being able to be fluid with how that happens.
So I want to add something to this, and it's not necessarily in relation to what Willow has here, but it's in relation to a conversation that her and I had last week. And I feel like that might be a big piece of that bud. So one of the things that she had said to me was that she's noticing that she misses the workouts, like when she's not doing them. She's like, oh, I got to do that. I want to move. Like that desire is coming in. And so one of the things that we talked about was the idea of hygiene. Okay. And I'm not meaning take a shower. Okay. But what I am meaning is that we don't not brush our teeth because we don't have enough time. Right? You take the time to brush your teeth. Like there's even moments in my nights where I'm like, girl, just go wash your face. Like wash your face. Okay. Take 5 minutes and wash your freaking face. Right. But that to me is not the same level of hygiene as brushing my teeth. I'm going to make sure that I brush my teeth because that's just ingrained in me from a young age. Why is physical fitness not also viewed as a form of hygiene? I need to take care of my mental and physical health in doing whatever movement that looks like. I'm practicing some form of self-care, but I feel like self-care people are like, I need to take a hot bubble bath and that's self-care, right? Whereas like, this is like that idea of like cleanliness and care. It's the idea of care, right? And so where we can start to place, I guess, maybe value around the care for ourselves, it changes the whole idea. Because I think that sometimes we think of fitness and health as I'm trying to look a certain way or create a certain body or achieve a specific goal, or I need to reverse these adverse health effects that I've started to notice in my life. And it becomes either a reactive decision or a forced thing. Whereas, can we be proactive and I'm just doing this to take care of me? Right? I always say for myself, I move my body regularly because I burn off the crazy. I need to get rid of the crazy that exists inside my brain. And when I do my physical movement, it helps my brain be a little bit more level-headed.
For me, I find it grounding personally. Like when I do my workout, I feel so present and aware in my body. And I spend a lot of my life distracted because, and this is an excuse, but it's true. I spend a lot of time working, right? Anybody who knows me, it's like, yeah, I'm with clients, I'm teaching classes, I'm doing the work behind the scenes for the clients, same as Kayla. So when you're that busy, when I get time for my workout, when I take that time for myself, it grounds me back into my body and I feel aware of where I am in space and how I'm feeling in that moment. So for me, it's important for that grounding aspect too.
Well, I mean, if you look at stress and trauma, one of the biggest things that we experience when we have a lot of stress or a lot of trauma is that disassociation with the body.
Self, yeah.
Right? The disassociation with self. And that is a really common practice, is that we kind of don't associate with this body and with who we are. And so when we can ground ourselves and take that moment to come back into the body for that body awareness, like I know like Mike and I body build. So like when we are lifting weights, we are very focused on the muscle we are trying to work and feeling that contraction, right? That is a very present feeling in the body. Whereas maybe that's not your same level of training. Maybe your training is you're like really into cardio. So like you're so hyper focused on don't die, catch your breath. At least that's how I feel when I do cardio. I know I own a in studio, but I feel that way every time I do cardio. But maybe that is very present for you of like, I can really feel my lungs. Like, how can I bring that awareness back into whatever movement I've chosen to be present in my body?
Yeah.
To take that moment to step back into the present moment, because the present moment is where stress and trauma don't exist. So I can begin to create a parasympathetic response in the body. Yes, I understand that exercise is a stress response in the body, but can I come out of it with the feel good endorphins that begin to create a calmer, more centered and focused me?
Well, and I love that you said that because everybody that I talk to about workouts, I do say, yes, this causes a stress response in your body, but what we're doing with the workouts is building resiliency. We're teaching our body that not all stress means that we're going to die. And we're teaching our body that it is capable of the things that we might not have believed it was. So there's power in that movement, power in that space of what can I do with my body? Yeah, love it.
I love that. Okay, moving on to
Good
the last
sidetrack.
one. I know, I told you it was going to be a good one. Moving on to that, the last one we've got from Ty. So Ty for this week says his Rose, good gains, learning exercises.
Love it.
Bud, slowly working in more carbs. Yay! Thorn, chronometer, custom meals like a sandwich is a pain. I agree. So couple ideas here. One, pick the best one. So if it says, like, say you made a ham sandwich, just type in ham sandwich and pick the best one. Option number two, leave me a note. It doesn't have to be 100%. Okay. You do not have to use chronometer. Okay. That is a choice. This is that piece of there's different ways to get to the end goal, but you get to pick the one that works best for you and your lifestyle. So there's the option to leave notes or photos. We have the option of picking whatever the best one is there. We also have the option of adding every little tiny ingredient. That's what I do. And I hate it, but I do it, right? If it's something that you make on a regular basis, maybe you make the same sandwich Monday through Friday. Maybe you make it as its own custom meal. So you only have to input it one time and you just type in Ty's ham sandwich. And every day you can just input that.
I would call it Ty's hamwich.
You could do whatever you want, but so there is that option. The other piece of that is what is in my custom sandwich. What is in that? So I'm looking, okay, I've got bread. Am I choosing whole grain bread? You know, does it have some fiber component? Maybe like there's so many options out there that are like sprouted grain breads that have a lot of protein in them now too. So whole grain sprouted grain bread would be a really great option. Hey, I'm getting high fiber. I'm getting some protein in there. I've added, maybe I'm using like actual chicken breast versus lunch meat. I don't know. Maybe I'm taking care of my sodium somewhere else in the day. Like, have I added vegetables to it? Is there a healthy fat on there like avocado or cheese? You know, what else is kind of going into this? And looking at it from a standpoint of, am I making a good choice? Meaning, for example, at breakfast, I have a carbohydrate, a fat, a protein, and maybe I do or don't have a veggie there. At lunch, I make sure I have a carbohydrate, a fat, a protein. At dinner, I make sure I have a carbohydrate, a fat, a protein. So I've made sure for 3 meals each day that I have 1 carbohydrate, 1 fat, 1 protein. Now, to gain weight, I need more than that. I need about 4 to 6 servings of each of those, depending. To lose weight, maybe 4 is a good place to be. Maybe 3 is a good place to be. But if you go too low, then you're not going to have anywhere to go. So you want to make sure that we are finding that happy medium and working from there. And we never want to be too low in those calories. So I guess what I'm trying to say is being very diligent in how you break up your calories in your day and making healthy choices where you can.
Yeah.
Does that
Love
kind
it.
of?
And yes, Chronometer is always a bit of a pain in the butt. It is the best tracking one that you will find online, which is awesome. And if you want to, like Kayla said, just find a sandwich that's closest. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to find the exact sprouted grain loaf of bread that you have, if that's what it is, right? Or the exact meat or whatever it is. Just do the best you can, or snap a picture. She's pretty good at dissecting those.
Yeah, I mean, just take a rough idea. You could leave me a note that says, I think this is roughly 500 calories. It doesn't matter. The macros don't have to be perfect. Nobody's looking for perfection. We're looking for better. The body doesn't accept perfection. It accepts better.
Yeah, love it.
Yes. Anyways, that is, I guess, where we'll leave it, is like deep dive into nutrition. I could really go on for hours and hours and hours about this. But we won't. We'll leave you there.
Not today. No.
Not today. Come back for more. We'll leave you guys there. So those are your rosebud thorns that we have received for the last several weeks. And hopefully we will get to this more often and start to produce a couple more podcasts maybe from time to time.
Yeah.
As time allows for that to take place. So if you guys have ideas for podcasts that you want to hear, or something that you're interested in us chatting about, or you just like listening to us chat, please reach out. Let us know what you want. And we are here to support you guys in that.
Yeah, for sure. Have an awesome rest of your week, guys.
Bye for now.